Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders and bishops of Great Millstone who taught us this truth and continually teach us this truth. Peace, love, and salutations to the hopeful elect that's laboring in this word and truth and sincerity. Lord willing, this could be an edifying video, and it's going to be a real quick video. All right. The war in Iran is no longer just the U.S. and the tiny tops against Iran, okay? And beginning with our apostles and elders on down, we've been saying that Russia would be a guard unto the Iranians, which is in Ezekiel 38. I'm going to grab that, okay? But as you see right here, which I'm going to play this video, okay, the reporter told Hegseth, Russia is providing intelligence to Iran on U.S. positions. So this war, Russia and the U.S., have been at war for years now. Okay, it's just been through proxy. Okay, it was through a proxy, still is through a proxy in Ukraine, but now it's through proxy in Iran because Russia is liking, expelling the U.S. from the so-called Middle East. So Russia is giving them intelligence of their positions, man. So when U.S. soldiers die, it's because Russia is giving the intelligence. Okay? So this is big, all right? This is big, and it's going to spiral into a direct confrontation between Russia and the U.S., okay? Because Russia is not going to allow a total regime change of Iran. And you have guys like Pepe Escobar, Colonel Douglas McGregor, Larry Wilkerson, these different guys. They actually say this, that Russia will come to the aid of Iran. And we know it's going to happen because it's scriptural. Hold on, Salakia. We know it's going to happen because it's scriptural. But I'm going to play this video.
Russia is providing intelligence to Iran on U.S. positions. CBS News has three sources telling us that Russia is providing intelligence to Iran on U.S. positions and movements. The average American might hear that and think that's a big and dangerous deal. Is it?
Well, we're tracking everything. Our commanders are aware of everything. We have the best intelligence in the world. We're aware of who's talking to who, why they're talking to them, how accurate that information might be, how we factor that into our battle plans, our CENTCOM commander. So we know what's going on, and the president has an incredible knack at knowing how to mitigate those risks. And so the American people can rest assured their commander-in-chief is well aware of who's talking to who, and anything that shouldn't be happening, whether it's in public or back-channeled, is being confronted and confronted strongly.
The American people can therefore expect conversations with the Russians to stop this?
Well, President Trump, as people have seen, has a unique relationship with a lot of world leaders where he can get things done that other presidents, certainly Joe Biden, never could have. And through direct conversations or indirect, through him one-to-one or through his cabinet, messages.
So you see, and the foreign minister of Iran, he was interviewed by a guy, I believe it was NBC News, and he pretty much showed no fear of the U.S. military. And the guy, the reporter, he was shocked by it. He was like, so you're telling me that if U.S. soldiers, if the United States military does a ground invasion into Iran, that you're not worried about it at all? He was like, we're waiting for them. He said this is going to be a disaster for them. And that's why they're trying to get the Kurds to do a ground invasion, because it would be way too messy if they send U.S. soldiers in, which I am seeing reports where they're saying that Trump is, getting interested into doing that. But I doubt they're going to do it. We know that all of the armies, the militaries, are going to be gathered to, as it says in Joel, a land barren and desolate, which is talking about Saudi Arabia. But it's possible. Okay, we're going to see what happens. Okay, but nonetheless, Russia is involved. Okay, and they're going to get more involved. All right. So Babylon knows exactly what's going on. Heck, so he knows exactly what this means. And they've been doing it to Russia through Ukraine, so they really can't even say anything, but it's going to lead to a direct confrontation because Russia will not allow Iran to collapse, and as well as China, they won't allow it either. Okay, North Korea will get involved. They're going to have to get involved because they have a defensive pact with Russia that if one of them goes to war, both of them are in war. And that's why North Korea sent soldiers to help in the Ukraine war. And Russia would have to do the same for North Korea if they're ever attacked. Okay, but let's go ahead to Ezekiel 38. Like I said, this a quick video. Okay, not a long. But as it says in Revelation 11, right, it says the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. Okay, the Revelation speaks about three woes. You had World War I, World War II, and we're in World War III, which this will be the war to end all wars. Okay, because, as this war commences, which is going to be a nuclear destruction, okay, which is the second death. Okay, Yahweh Shai, his kingdom will be established on earth, okay, after, the destruction. Okay, and from that moment, Israel will rule forever. All right, but this is Ezekiel 38, verse 1. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him. Now, it's not Gog and Magog. Magog just means of Gog. Okay, and when you look at an ancient map, you can see that that region is Russia today. Okay, and the chief prince Russia is a Hebrew word, which is Ra'ash Shar, which Ra'ash is chief, Shar is prince. So the chief prince is Russia. It says, and prophesy against him because they're Edomites as well. Okay, the Lord is using them to be the forefront of the destruction of Babylon the Great. Okay, and they're emboldened by what's going on now. Okay, Dmitry Medvedev, he's popping shit, which whatever he says, that's pretty much Putin saying it. But Putin, he doesn't get into, acts like that. He tries to remain, diplomatic and calm. But Medvedev is his right hand man. Okay, so if he says something, it's like Putin says it, and it's just a lot going on. But this war is actually helping Russia because for one, it's getting U.S. influence out of the region. For two, it's causing oil prices to go up, which is going to cause Europe to they're going to have to become friends with Russia because Russia said they're not sending any oil anymore to unfriendly nations. Okay, they said they're only going to do business with friendly nations, and the U.S. is leaving their allies to dry. Okay, now Saudi Arabia is in heavy talks with Iran. Now they're talking about pulling out of investments in America. Now they're talking about how, America have pulled their air defenses from them, left them out pretty much to fend on themselves, and they removed the air defenses and sent them to Israel. Okay? So, it's a lot going on, man, and the whole world can see that we're in the downfall, we're in the collapse of Babylon the Great, aka America. Okay, I see it all the time when I'm scrolling X. All right. But it says, and say, thus saith the Lord power, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. So the Lord is against those Russians. Okay, he's just using them for a purpose. Okay, that don't mean he give a fuck about them. He just like with Alexander the Great, the Lord used them and then gave him a sickness and he died. So, they going right into captivity too. Now you do got some Israelites, because we're scattered everywhere. You got Israelites in Russia, even some that look like Edomites. Okay, but the power system there, the ruling, people in Russia are Edomites. Okay, it says, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and that's what the Lord is doing. He's putting that Soviet Union spirit back in those Russians, man. All right, because they've been trying to be diplomatic, they've been trying to avoid war, but now, they're seeing like, hey, war is the only, it's the only way we're gonna get what we want. Okay, they want respect, and the U.S. does not respect them. Okay, that's why the whole situation with Ukraine, NATO made a promise they wouldn't expand, eastward, and they've continuously did it. Okay, so, nobody trusts y'all anymore, man, you Babylonians. So it says, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor. So this is their military. And the horses and the horsemen in today's battle would be like, their tanks, their jets, their attack helicopters, all that. It says all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords, and the modern day sword is the gun. Okay, the modern day bucklers and shields would be like, their helmets, their, military gear. It says Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. And the Persians are the Iranians, and that's known today. You even had Bibi call them, Persians. Okay, and you got people talking about how, how they ruled, years ago, many years ago. Because you did have the Persian Mede Empire. Okay. What's his name? Xerxes was in the movie 300. He was a Persian. Okay, Elamite. They're really Elam. Okay. So it says Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah of the north quarters and all of his bands, and many people with thee. All right, and it's listing, the people that's going to side with Russia. Okay, you're going to have certain African, nations side with Russia, which they're already doing that. Like the guy, what's his name, Ibrahim. Putin personally had flew him out to Moscow. Made sure he was safe. Also Turkey, because Turkey, they're a NATO member, but Israel is openly saying that they're a greater threat than Iran, so they know they next. So they're in a position where they're gonna have to do something, and Russia gonna be with gonna side with them, and they're gonna side with Russia. It says, "Be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them." So that's what I really wanted to get. Russia is going to be a guard to the Persians as well as these other, nations. But, they're going to stop Iran from losing this war. Okay. And according to the words of Pepe Escobar, if Iran requires direct military assistance, Russia done already told them, look, we're gonna do it. You're gonna get it. They're gonna get as much help as they need. But right now, they don't really need military intervention. All they need right now is the intelligence, because they have weapons that's going through the Iron Dome, that's going through U.S. defenses. Okay? So, this is major, man. This is another step closer, all right, to the downfall of Esau. Now we know the MOTB has to come before he's totally wiped out, but and what I mean by totally wiped out, I mean Babylon the Great being wiped off the face of the earth, becoming the biggest desert on the planet. Okay, before that happens, the MOTB, the implantable device, has to become mandatory, and that's close. That's very close, because this is going to collapse the economy. The way oil is going up, which is causing gas to go up, which will cause everything to go up. All right, it's going to lead to a economic crash. Okay, and this is already something that they've been planning, because they're going to switch over to the blockchain digital system. All right, so, like I said, quick video, Lowell, and it was edifying. With that, I'm going to say shalom.